folks, welcome back. Good to see you all. Chat's already on fire. Hey Redbird, hey Alyssa, David, Rossi, K-Coffs, The Flow, XX Brian, Honduran Coder. Welcome everybody. Bugaboo, how's it going? How's it going? How's it going? All right. Happy Thursday. Excited to learn some JavaScript, but as always, we have our question of the day. So, the question today is, would you rather have a dragon or be a dragon? Put that in Twitch chat for me. Have a dragon or be a dragon? What up, Bugaboo? Wow. Have a dragon. I think Have a Dragon has the lead right now. The V today is born in the year of the dragon. I think I might have been too. I don't remember. I think so, yeah. Nintendo said, I've seen How to Train a Dragon enough to be pretty confident in owning a dragon. What's up, Miriam? How you doing? Vegan Fox, welcome back, welcome back. Shante said, dragons eat whatever they want. There's no restrictions. So here's the thing, like dragons, right? Like dragons in like most, I would say dragons in a lot of fantasy are like super smart creatures, like of the same or greater intelligence of humans, and they can fly. And as other folks have said, eat whatever they want. Some folks are saying that I'm frozen. Go ahead and give it a refresh if you can. Shouldn't be frozen. Welcome back, welcome back. The question is, would you rather have a dragon or be a dragon? Have a dragon or be a dragon? Welcome back, everyone. Happy Thursday. Excited to get into some JavaScript tonight. They don't have opposable thumbs. They can't get anywhere. Miss Turner just had a birthday last week. Happy birthday. Hey Reptar, what's up? Cool. All right, so we got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. We're going to get into the thick of it pretty early. If you are new or following along later, you can do ! slides in the chat to get today's slides. If you would like the materials to follow along, you can do ! Discord. That'll take you to our Discord. If you agree to all the rules, you'll get access to all the channels, and there will be a follow along materials channel. You're definitely going to want all the materials for today. Lots of starter code, lots of stuff that we're going to be looking through together. Cool. chilling. Just think about having a dragon, you know. Cool. All right, everybody. So what I would like to do is I'm going to bring up little Leon. Let's get into questions as always. Questions first. Give some folks a few minutes to get here, or a few seconds to get here, and then we're going to get started. All right. Questions about last class, life, being a software engineer, JavaScript. Any questions that you all have from last class? Let's give folks another minute or so to get here, and then we're going to jump into it. If you're new and haven't followed yet, go ahead and give us a follow. That way more folks can see the free bootcamp that we're running. This is class 8 of 10. Only one more week to go after this class. But don't worry, we'll do lots of other classes to follow it up. Questions. Sup, K-Doge? Big Nash said, "Can this class just never end?" I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. I think I got some fun stuff planned. I got some one-off classes that I think will be really fun. I really want to do like an advanced layout class. I really want to do a web accessibility class. I really want to do a CS animation class, and I think those would be some fun like one-shots. So there's definitely lots of stuff planned. After now that I've seen that, like what it can be and what we can do and how much fun we can have, I'm definitely gonna fill it all out, make sure that the things that are needed to be corrected get corrected. We're definitely going to run it again for folks that didn't get a chance to be a part of the like actual boot camp that gets their homework and stuff checked. And then I want to run a longer form class. I want to run a all JavaScript class. I want to run a full stack class. So lots of good things to come. Lots of good things to come. Melissa said, life question, why the heck do vets charge you out the butt? Yeah, we got insurance for my dog Simba. Literally like the day we got him, he had a gastric hemorrhage and it wound up being like $2,000 all said and done. So then we got insurance, and insurance has been kind of okay. We haven't had any bigger accidents or anything like that. So, but yeah, it's pretty wild. What other applications use JavaScript besides web dev? You'd be surprised. JavaScript is everywhere now. I even have like a microcontroller like to build robots that uses all JavaScript. So JavaScript definitely has its footholds in web development, but people like the language and they've ported it to other things, and you can do pretty cool stuff with it. Reptar said, I'm still in CSS, but I want to jump into the JS class today. That's all right. Come on in. We're going to cover just the basic minimal CSS that you need anyway. So you should be fine to kind of just jump in with JavaScript with us today. Alpine said, how long did it take you to become confident with your coding skills? Still not there. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about imposter syndrome. We're going to talk about like how long it takes to feel like a confident developer. I feel really confident in certain things and completely unconfident in others. I've been trying to get into machine learning and stuff like that, and running up against barriers with my math. And so yeah, I think when it comes to like web development, I feel pretty confident, but some other stuff, not so much. We're gonna talk about that though, for sure. I have a slide for that today. Cake House says, I would all the classes. Tuna Aliens has my line of thinking. They said being a dragon would be cool, but having a dragon pal would also be very cool. It's kind of like a best friend. Like it's like getting a new best friend. I think I'll go with that. Can we have Taco Tuesdays? That'd be hilarious. Yeah, if we all just make tacos. The first 10 minutes of Tuesday stream is just us eating tacos. That'd be great. Oh no, sorry to hear about your cat, Alyssa. Thoughts on Ruby on Rails versus JavaScript? I love Ruby on Rails. I've used it professionally. I don't use it professionally anymore. I think its super heyday has somewhat sunsetted, but don't get me wrong, still tons of businesses, tons of companies use Ruby on Rails. It's a great language for building SaaS applications, right? Like full stack web applications. Has really great support for anything that you might want to do, collecting payments, emailing, all that. So pretty solid. If you're going to build a business, you would definitely consider Ruby on Rails as one of the stacks. I'm full stack JavaScript now though. When you build a Raspberry Pi, would you be using JS anyway to build it? Not really. Raspberry Pis are kind of all built already. Like you can program on top of them using a couple of different languages. But yeah, there's nothing that you have to really build with them. They're like little computers. That's what they're fun to do. I actually have a blog post. I built out 2 computer labs in Tanzania and Kenya. And then a bunch of Wi-Fi hotspots that all use Raspberry Pis. And so anybody that had like a phone could connect to the hotspot, get full Wikipedia, get a bunch of books and stuff like that. It's on my website, leontheworld.com, if you're interested in like some fun stuff I've done with Raspberry Pis. What's the difference between a web developer and a software engineer? A software engineer writes code. They can specialize in web development if they want, or they could write code that runs on robots, or they could write code that puts the space shuttles into the atmosphere. So think about a software engineer as somebody who writes code, and then they can have different specialties. Now, who can call themselves a software engineer is kind of a gatekeeping topic extraordinaire. I'm of the mindset that once you start writing code, especially when you start writing code professionally, you should start calling yourself a software engineer. Some folks feel that you need a degree to call yourself an engineer. I don't think that's true. I think if you apply computer science concepts to solve real world problems, start calling yourself a software engineer. Don't at me though. Doing the tutorial for HTML is review, and they're using div. I know we went over this, but what is the major difference between the two? we just got a lot more semantically appropriate choices for when we were writing our HTML. Just meaning that like divs don't really have a reason for when you would use them. So if you can't think of a more semantically appropriate tag, then use a div. There's nothing wrong with using divs. There's just often way better tags to use instead of them. Twitch is such a good platform for bootcamps. I think it's been fun. I've been having fun on Twitch. It's great to have you all here with me. I really like the live aspect of it. When I recorded that YouTube video, that sucked. I don't know how YouTubers do it. It's just no fun. You're just talking to yourself for hours. That's not my move. I love doing the live. I like being able to answer questions. So it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, sections kind of took over some of the heavy lifting from divs. Could web dev be ultimately fully automated, thus having no need for humans creating websites from scratch? Yes, everything will eventually be fully automated. Web development can be, but there's a lot of stuff that's going to be hard in the beginning. Like if you're talking about like layout, like taking a photo and turning it into a layout, there's already some machine learning that can do that. But if you're talking about like talking to customers about features that they want and then building those features out, it's gonna be a little while before we have AI that does that. Is there anything that requires coding in binary? Yeah, when you get to like really, really low level system stuff, you can, but there are languages that like abstract the binary so you don't have to think about it, like assembly and things like that. So there are just like super low level languages that handle all that stuff for you. But if you really wanted to write it, you could. There's this really amazing YouTuber called Ben Eater. I guess I shouldn't call him a YouTuber, I just know him from YouTube. And he built a computer from scratch, and it was really cool to see how everything that went into it. Like, did all the wiring, built out the ALU, the control unit, like all the stuff you need for a computer, boom, he built it out. Yeah, there's a lot of live coding. Who is the GOAT computer programmer according to you? Why am I blanking on his name? Carmack, the guy that wrote all the early video game stuff. He's just straight up genius, just a straight up genius. Like to be able to build all that from scratch. Yeah. Yep. Welcome back, everyone. I think everyone's kind of here now. Object-oriented or functional programming? Object-oriented to get stuff done, functional to have fun. One of my favorite YouTube, fun function. Made me think of him. But no, I use object-oriented. There are some times when functional program, like I said, all these are tools on your tool belt, right? There are going to be some times when you need to pull out the functional programming to get something done. Hey, Tuna Alien, glad to have you. Tuna Alien, I guess. Glad to have you. All right. Welcome back, everyone. All right, I think we got through most of the questions here. Are all the videos in the series going to remain available on YouTube? Yes. I tried to upload them once we're done live here. Twitch is really weird about it though. Every once in a while, it takes like a day. Like I don't know. Like just exporting to YouTube just takes a while sometimes. So like today in the announcement for this class, I linked the Twitch VOD. So the VODs are always available on Twitch like immediately as soon as we're done. And then I export them to YouTube so that they will be there forever. So they will be there forever. Miriam, we'll get to it. We'll get to what functional programming is. Let's kind of understand the basics, and then I'll bring in those important concepts next week. So hold on, we'll get to it. Yeah. All right. Alrighty, folks, let's get into it. Let's get into the thick of things. Let's talk about what we're going to cover today. All right. So I want to spend a few minutes in the beginning talking about what it's like to learn how to code and what kind of is the common barrier I see in a lot of my students that don't ever come across to the other side, and some things that we can do to make sure that we're staying healthy and that we're learning and doing well. We're going to review just very quickly a little bit of HTML, just so that folks that are joining today for the first time, they can make the edits that we need to make all of the fun apps that we're going to build. We're going to build a bunch of fun stuff today. A YouTube picker. We're going to build an angry parent simulator. Part of the lab will be to build a temperature converter. We have a lot of fun stuff that we're going to do. So a lot of cool stuff to build. And through that, and through talking through everything, we're going to start learning some of the basics of JavaScript. And then your homework is just going to be repetition. So to come back and redo all the code that we do today's class, just to make sure things are sinking in. I always love when chat's jumping ahead to answer questions. I love it. It makes me so happy. All right, so here's the Trough of Sorrow. This is originally a concept from the startup community and like what it means to like start a company and like how long it takes for a company to like become profitable or find product market fit. But I also like to think about it in terms of learning, and specifically when it comes to learning computer science or web development or anything in that field, or just programming in general. Most folks start off over here. They find out what coding is. They're kind of interested in it. And then they climb what I like to call Udemy Hill. They buy a bunch of courses. They buy everything they think is going to help them learn how to code. They're at the peak and they're like, all right, I bought all this stuff I needed to buy. I got my new MacBook Pro. Like, they do all this stuff before like actually getting into it. And then once they get into it, the novelty wears off pretty quickly. Right? The novelty wears off pretty quickly. And then you have this long trough of sorrow where you're working hard and you're feeling like you're not making progress. You're working hard and you're feeling like things aren't clicking. And then right as you're about to give up, like this is like when you're at the lowest of the low, you start to have your wiggles of false hope. You think you understand how stuff works. Maybe you're able to build a thing or two. Then he kind of crashes. You feel like you can build a little bit more, and then kind of crash, and then eventually come out the other side, and you're like, you know what? I can build basic stuff, and then you start off in a little bit longer of a career of learning how to code. And so, the reason I like to bring this up is that because a lot of folks give up, like here. I think that's where most people give up. The novelty wears off. They realize they're in for a long haul, and they kind of give up. So I like to bring this up, and I like to bring up something really important to talk about, and that's that treat this like learning any other language, right? Treat this like learning any other language. If we were all here to learn Japanese, and after the second class, you were like, why am I not fluent? How can I not be fluent in Japanese in 2 classes? There must be something wrong with me because I'm not fluent in Japanese after 2 classes, right? You would never say that to yourself, right? So hold yourself to that same level of understanding when it comes to learning programming languages. You got to learn some of the basics. You got to learn how to put sentences together. There's a long grind to learn vocabulary. You got to talk to other people. You got to practice it every day. If you're not doing your Duolingo or everything every day, you're going to slowly start to lose it. But eventually, if you practice enough, you study enough, you work with others enough, eventually you come out the other side fluent in Japanese, right? So hold yourself to the same thing with learning to code. Doesn't mean we can't have a whole lot of fun along the way. But I think a lot of people beat themselves up because they're like, Leon, I've taken a tutorial. I've done a class or 2 here or there, and it's not clicking. Give yourself more time. Trust me, give yourself more time. Make sure you're using effective study habits, right? If you haven't read Learning How to Learn, go ahead and do that. In fact, if you do !learn in chat, it'll link you to the Coursera course on learning how to learn. If you're not doing spaced repetition and active recall, those evidence-based study tips, you should be doing those. Go ahead and put !point study tips in the chat, and that'll take you to the evidence-based study tips playlist, right? You got to start incorporating all these things into your daily practice. And if you do, you'll come out the other side to the promised land. Yeah. So just keep that in mind. The other thing I always like to say too is make sure you're staying healthy. I always ask everyone to get up, take a break, stretch. It's really important you do that, especially when you start getting like in the zone. You want to start coding for hours at end. Your hands are going to start to hurt. Your wrists are going to start to hurt. Your eyes are going to start to get weird. Make sure you're taking breaks. Make sure you're stretching. Make sure you're hydrating. Make sure you're walking away from the computer once an hour. Give yourself time to adjust and get used to the flow. Yeah, I agree, Reptar. Mental health is also super important. It's really easy to get down on yourself when you're learning to code. But know that I take the best developer in the world and I give them CSS to learn. They're doing the same thing. They're starting all over again. They might have some patterns or things that they recognize, but they're still having to do the practice. They're still having to go on the MDN. They're still having to read the documentation. So give yourself a little bit of breathing room. Cool. I need a computer chair. I've been sitting on an ottoman for 4 weeks. Yeah, a good chair, good keyboard is going to save you a lot of mileage. But in the beginning, the thing that I've said time and time again is please don't spend money. You don't need to buy Udemy courses. You can learn all this stuff for free. Don't go out and buy the brand new MacBook Pro. I used a Chromebook professionally for 2 years, right? Like, make sure you get to the other side and then invest in yourself. But you can invest in yourself now by taking breaks, drinking water, staying hydrated, right? And giving yourself breaks when you need them. Alrighty, folks. Wanted to bring that up. One other thing I want to say while we're here before we actually get into the thick of it is I want to take a moment to say thank you. If you're in our Discord channel, !point Discord, you've definitely seen folks that have been helping out every day. I want to shout out Bo. I want to shout out Waylon. Shout out Ryan for holding office hours yesterday. Right now, you can see that Ellie, Ryan, Maria are in the chat. Rai was in there earlier, right? Thank you to them. Thank you to everyone that's been stepping up and helping answer questions and making the community great for folks learning how to code. I appreciate you. I really do. All right. Alrighty. So I'm excited tonight. We're gonna start looking at some code. We're gonna start building some things. I'm gonna have you writing some code. Tonight's all about seeing concepts, starting to think about what code might actually be or mean, right? Starting to understand a little bit about JavaScript, some variables, some conditionals, starting to realize like what JavaScript role really is, like what is it doing? How's it affecting the stuff in the browser? And so we're going to spend time kind of just exploring tonight, learning the basics, and then we're going to start putting everything into motion next week. So tonight's about having fun, building some stuff, getting you writing some JavaScript for the first time. We'll learn a little bit of like all the vocabulary and terminology tonight, but tonight's more about building, having fun. We're also going to go a little bit shorter tonight because I know we've gone late the past couple of times. So want to make sure people have some time to work on this stuff outside of class as well. All right, let's get into it. So a little bit of review first. Separation of concerns, right? Remember, our content goes in our HTML, our style goes in our CSS, our behavior and interaction goes in JavaScript. And today we're going to actually see that. We're going to start having our users be able to behave and interact with our content. And we don't want to mix that in with our HTML and CSS. Why? And it was shown down from the heavens of chat. Why do we not violate this golden rule? Yes, organization, right? If you yourself are coming back to your code a couple days later, right, and you want to make something pink, you know where to go. You know to go to your CSS. If you want to add some extra content, you know to go to your HTML. And if you want to, when you click something, have a background change like we're going to do today, you go to your JavaScript, right? So this works well for you. It works well for the team that you're on. And so remember, keep this rule, separation of concerns. Well done, everybody. All right. Quick review of IDs and classes because we're going to use them a lot today. Remember, when we're dealing with HTML, our IDs are unique identifiers. It's a way of targeting one element and only one element. All right. Once you give an HTML element an ID, only that element can have that ID, and then that ID name cannot repeat anywhere else in the HTML. Classes are a little different. Classes can be applied to multiple elements. Each element can have as many classes as it wants. Your element can have an ID and it could have a class. It could have multiple classes, and you can share classes across elements. So let's say I wanted to give glasses to everyone. I could create a glasses class and then apply that to everyone, and everyone would have glasses. Cool. Last avatar beat me to it. Class, amazing hair. There we go. All right, like I said, power hour. We're quickly reviewing all this stuff just so that it's a chance for us to reset our forgetting curve. Let's talk about responsiveness. Remember, back in the day, we used to have fixed websites where we would move the browser window back and forth and nothing would happen. It would just stay where it was at, and that was it. But now we have lovely responsive websites that work well across devices. They look good on desktop, they look good on tablet, they look good on mobile phones. And the reason why they're able to look good across all those devices is because they are fluid, elastic, and the developers have made good content decisions. Okay. Oh, I forgot I still had the music on. Normally people like in chat are like, music. All right. Remember, fluid means that our sites are in flexible containers or percentages, that as the site gets smaller or larger, it can respond. Remember, elasticity, sizing things in M's so that they're a responsive unit of measure. Remember, when it comes to accessibility, if all of our stuff is sized in M's, individuals have more control by being able to set their own font sizes in their browser and having all of your content respond accordingly. Really helpful for individuals that might have visual impairments and set their font size by default to be larger. And remember, the cornerstone of a good responsive website are good content decisions. What content looks great on mobile, what content should be present on tablet, what content should be present on laptop, desktop, and so on. And then making those content decisions, right? Making those content decisions. And then Miriam in chat just said, UPS sucked. And then how do we make those content decisions? How do we make content decisions when it comes to CSS, folks? Throw it in chat. How do we make content decisions? How do we make, like, what enables us to make content decisions? What enables, like, what can we use to help us make those content decisions? This is a tricky question. I think I got chat. This is the first time I've gotten chat in a while. Oh, damn. Mayan got it. Media queries, right? We can make our decisions using our media queries, right? If we want content to disappear or to change, or we want to make those decisions, we can use our media queries to make those decisions, right? So I can have media queries between 0 and, say, a normal phone size. Then I can have a media query for tablet. I can have a media query for laptop and desktop. And I'm able to hide and show stuff. I'm able to change different stylings, all based on the size of the screen. So our sites are fluid, they're elastic, and we can make good content decisions by media queries. And those are the cornerstones of a responsive website. Boom. Speeding through, folks. Speeding through this so we can get to the JavaScript tonight. That's what we're all here for. All right. How did folks do? Were folks able to complete Flexbox Defense? Did anybody complete it with hundreds on every level? Yes, sir, said Durante. Nice. Awesome. Looks like we got a good number of folks that were able to complete it. Well done. Well done, everyone. Cool. So remember, I want this to be done for homework. So we're not going to review it tonight because I want to get straight to the JS, and I don't want this class to go super long tonight. Just I know we've been going over the past couple. So if you haven't yet, please give this a shot. Remember, we did up to level 5 or 6 together, so do the second half on your own, and then we'll probably take a few minutes to review later in maybe next week. If people are getting stuck, I can maybe like record my solutions, or we'll do it live together. Oh, know what? We'll do it during office hours. If you got stuck and you want to review it, come to office hours. Office hours are Saturdays from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern time here on Twitch. Normally we just hang out. I answer any questions you have, and then we maybe do some code review, things like that. So if you got stuck on Flexbox Defense, come to office hours. We'll go over it together then. Because I got hundreds in all of them. I only get hundreds. Cool. Let's talk about programming. This is a realistic depiction of Leon on a normal workday. But I have a way better keyboard. Cool. All right, here's the important rule, folks. A computer will do what you tell it to do. Okay? Keep that in your mind. A computer will do what you tell it to do. So this whole adventure we're about to embark on is all about telling computers what to do. Now you can tell them to do it nicely so that when the robot uprising happens, they remember you fondly. But for now, you're going to tell them what to do. I always say thank you and please to my Alexa. When she takes over the world, she ain't going to get me. I'm going to be one of her warriors or something, because I'm always nice to her. All right. What is a program? Lunch Monkey's like, nah, yell at Siri. What is a program? A program is simply a set of instructions you write to tell a computer what to do. So if you're able to write instructions that a computer can follow and can do, well, then you are programming. Because programming is merely the task of writing those instructions, but specifically in a language a computer can understand. If you're trying to use smoke signals to program a computer, it's probably not going to work. But you can use many of the programming languages that a computer can eventually be broken down to understand or will understand natively. So, program, simply a set of instructions you write to tell a computer what to do. And programming is the task of writing those instructions so that the computer knows what to do. All right. Somebody tell me in chat how Independence Day could be a true story. Why is Independence Day a true story? Just quick, like, give me the three word summary of how, in 3 words, how is Independence Day a true story? Go ahead, 3 words. Binary was whack. Reverse engineering. Binary upload boom. I love. Okay, that's the winner. Jeff killed aliens. Zeros and ones are. That's more words. Zeros and ones are constant. True universal concept. Love it. Aliens can't code. Hacking aliens will save the world. On off switch. Mothership got virus. Reverse code engineering. Yeah. All right. These are actually pretty good. I thought it was gonna be pretty hard to say it in 3 seconds. Okay, I got it right though. Binary upload boom. Jeff understands viruses. Hilarious. So remember, Jeff Goldblum saved the world by writing a virus that then infected the alien mothership. Since the alien mothership was infected, the shields went down on all of the other spaceships, and then we nuked them and we saved the world. So this is a true story. And this could theoretically work because we should be able to break down the computer's instructions or the programming that the computer understands all the way down to some universal constants of on and off. So even though this was some alien civilization, we assume in their world that on and off was the universal constant, and the ability to represent circuits with on and off values, to build up simple logic gates, and then from that logic be able to build up to an actual human readable language. Well, Jeff Goldblum was able to reverse engineer all the way down into those base principles, that base logic, build back up a computer virus, and then as Okayla said, what was the full one? Let me read it verbatim here. Binary upload, boom. So true story. All right, folks. Why we came here today, why we got up this morning, time to learn some JavaScript. Now, we went through all that stuff blazingly fast. We're going to slow down. We're going to take our time. You're going to ask lots of questions. The only way this works tonight, if you ask lots of questions, you engage with the material honestly. When things don't make sense, put it into chat so we can talk about it. But tonight, we're going to look at a lot of code. I'm going to ask you to start writing some of your own code. And we're going to have fun. Remember, tonight's just about like starting to see stuff, starting to get a feel for what the language might be. We'll have plenty of time to learn vocabulary and terminology. Tonight's about experiencing and trying to build some cool stuff. Alpine said, I'm ready. Tuna Alien said, let's start swimming in that JS, folks. Yep. Let's get it, Cake House. All right. JavaScript has a specific syntax, right? So we're going to start writing a programming language, and just like our markup languages of HTML and CSS had rules that we had to abide by, JavaScript is going to have its own rules as well, okay? There are going to be a bunch of special characters that we covered last class. You're going to see semicolons, brackets, parentheses, quotations, and tons of unique characters that over time you have to kind of learn what they do. The syntax of JavaScript is not super complex. You can get away with a lot of stuff. It's very flexible. It's very forgiving. That can lead to some confusion. But if you're coming from a language where things like white space matters, all that goes out the window with JavaScript. So it's pretty flexible. It's pretty forgiving and can be a fun first language. All right. So we're going to start by jumping right into code, looking at something practical. And I used that word very liberally there. Looking at some code, talking through it. So go ahead, and if you haven't downloaded the materials for today's class, please go ahead and do so. We're going to use them a lot, so it makes sense to have the materials up and ready to go. That way we can work them together. If you're new and just following along now, if you do !Discord in the chat, you'll be able to join our Discord. Once you agree to all the rules on Discord, you'll get access to all the channels. There is a follow along materials channel that has all the starter code for today. So go ahead and grab that if you want to follow along. I'm going to open up the background picker folder. So I'm going to go ahead and open that entire folder in Atom. So here's this entire folder, nice and neat and open. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to immediately open it in the browser so we can see what's happening. So I'm going to open it in the browser. The HTML file I'm going to open in my browser. Right around, they said already experts. Nice. All right, so here is a YouTube background picker. I don't know if you watched any YouTube recently, but every YouTuber and their mama has one of these colors in the background now, either through nano leaves or some sort of floodlight. I even have my own now. I don't know if you can see like Disco Leon in front of you is messing with my green screen, but I have the lights, folks. I have the official YouTuber background lights. So what I wanted to do first is build a nice simple app that can help me pick what my YouTube background color should be. Okay. And so all this does is when I click on one of the remote colors, it should change the background to that color. So let me go ahead and click on pink here. Let me go ahead and click on green. And let me go ahead and click on blue. Epilepsy warning. Just going to say that for a second. So look away. I'll tell you when to come back if you want to. And I'm going to turn on the music. And we're going to go fast. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Come back, folks. So there we go. We have a nice color picker. So something nice and simple and easy for us to start exploring this idea that JavaScript is the behavior and interaction that we're going to apply to our websites and web applications, right? So what's the behavior here? What is the behavior of the user? What's the behavior that the user can do for this very, very simple application? What's the thing they can do? That's right, Alyssa. Yeah, Izzy, you got it right. Boogaboo, you got it right. The user can click, right? The user can click. Now, there's some intentionality behind what they're doing, but the user can click. When I'm starting to build things, I kind of ask myself 3 questions. What can the user do? What can the user see? And what does the user expect? We're going to cover something called pseudocode at the end, but whenever I'm building applications, I'm kind of thinking through those 3 things. And the first thing I think about is like, what can the user do? In this case, it can click. So we need some code that can listen for that click and then do all the things that we see here. Okay? So we know that we're going to have to write some what? Because there's behavior and interaction now. We know we're going to have to write some what? Some JavaScript, yes. All right. Now, I've seen this a couple times tonight, and we're all going to make a pledge right here and right now. Java and JavaScript are 2 very different languages. Okay? So we're all going to raise our right hand. We're all going to raise our right hand. I can see you. Raise your hand. You're not raising it. You right there. Yep, you. Raise your hand. Cool. All right. Right hand is up. I promise to not confuse Java and JavaScript. We'll say it one more time. I need to hear you say it out loud. I didn't hear everyone at that time. I'm going to open my window so I can hear y'all. I promise not to confuse Java and JavaScript. All right, well done. You don't remember. You were all knighted developers of the web. We got to remember these things, right? So Java and JavaScript are 2 different languages. The individuals that wrote JavaScript said, hey, what's really popular right now? And the answer was Java, so they named their language JavaScript. Cool. All right, I'm glad we've all taken that oath. And then like watch me say it by accident in a few seconds. All right, let's take a look at the site. So let's look at our HTML first, and then we're going to look at the JavaScript that we know that we have to write. All right, so our HTML is pretty straightforward here. We have in H1 that just has the text saying, hey, this is the YouTube background picker. I have a lovely image. And then the remote is just a list, right? So it's a list with 3 LIs. So my remote is really just those 3 LIs. Okay? So actually, according to one of the original proposed names for the language was Mocha. So they were trying to go coffee themed. All right. So my remote is really just 3 LIs. So the squares that we're seeing, right? These 3 squares are just the LIs. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to be able to write some code that can hear those clicks and do something in response to it. Okay? So we're going to see a couple different ways to do everything tonight. The way I show you, I'm going to probably show you some of the older ways, and I'm going to show you some of the newer ways. So we got to keep our wits about us as we move through all of this content. So let's go ahead and take a look at our JavaScript. And I know it looks overwhelming at first, but we're going to break it down step by step. Ooh, Ebony King asked a phenomenal question. Phenomenal question. Why is the script at the bottom? So this script is at the bottom out of an old habit that protected me from doing one really important thing. I want all of my HTML to load before my JavaScript has a chance to load. Why would, for this application, why would it be really important that my HTML loaded before my JavaScript did? Why would that be important? The flow, that might be one of the reasons, maybe a slightly faster load time. Yeah, that's definitely something you should be thinking about. Ah, barely qualified. That's such a good name. Barely qualified has the answer. If we know our JavaScript is going to be set up to click on stuff, the things that it's going to listen for the clicks for has to be there. If these things that we're going to click on aren't in the DOM, like where the JavaScript can access them, like if they're not there, then JavaScript's going to run into some errors. It's going to run into some trouble. If the things that it's supposed to be interacting on don't exist yet, then we're going to run into some trouble. So that's why we have the script at the bottom. The script at the bottom was the old school way of making sure that your HTML loaded before the JavaScript. We now have some newer things like deferring and stuff like that that makes it a little bit easier. But you're going to see most of the time you're going to see the JavaScript link at the bottom. Okay. So the only thing that's happening here is, right, we're building something that has some interaction. So let me step back and explain this concept. It's a really good question, Ebony. I'm really glad you asked it. All right. So this application, let me refresh the page. Command R, I refresh. All right. I am going to click. Boom, I clicked. Okay. Right, I clicked. What would have happened if I'm on like AOL dial-up and that remote button didn't exist as I tried to click? Right? What happens if that thing didn't exist? Right? Well, my JavaScript wouldn't be able to do anything, or it might throw an error, or something weird might happen. So what we do is we put our JavaScript link at the bottom because it forces all the HTML to render first and then the JavaScript. Okay. There are a lot of other ways to solve this problem. Some folks in chat have got it, like a document.ready. There are like these new defer tags and things like that. But this is kind of like the original way, and you're going to see it a heck of a lot. So really, it's just a way of making sure the things that we're going to interact with are already on the page, right, on the document, before we start trying to do stuff to them. That's all. That's all it's doing. All right. Let's go back and take a look at the code. What I have here are 3 of the older ways to make sure our JavaScript can listen for a click. Okay? Because what we're doing here, all we're doing is we're listening for a click and then we're changing some colors. Okay? We're listening for a click and then we're changing some colors. So these first 3 lines are 3 lines that are listening for those clicks. And this is the older syntax. In the next example, we're going to see the newer syntax. Okay? So let me walk through what's actually happening here. In JavaScript, we have something called DOM manipulation, right? And pretty much what we're doing with all these examples today is kind of like messing with what we see here in the browser, right? We're messing with what we see here in the browser. Think of a painter. When a painter is looking at a beautiful person and they're painting them, that painting is a render. It's not a carbon copy of the person they're painting. It's a rendering, right? And so they paint their render based on what it looks like. And then if they wanted to, they could give the person a goofy hat. If they wanted to, they could give the person a clown nose, right? This is what's happening in the browser. The browser is reading our HTML, it's reading our CSS, and it's painting what we see here, right? This is all because the browser read our HTML file, read our CSS file, right? And painted what we see here. Now, the really cool thing is JavaScript can come along and give everything a clown nose. JavaScript can come along and change the colors. JavaScript can come along and remove this chair. JavaScript can come along and change this text. JavaScript can manipulate that rendering. We call that manipulating the DOM. It can go in and just mess with everything. But here's the really interesting thing. As soon as I refresh, what happens? As soon as I refresh, what happens? what happens when I refresh the page? It goes back to the default. It goes back to the original. It resets. And the reason it resets is because when I refresh, right? When I refresh, what I am doing is I am asking the browser to re-render that HTML, to re-render that CSS. And here's where it stays until JavaScript messes with it again. Okay? So all we're doing until it explodes. Yeah. So all we're doing, right? All it's doing, all JavaScript is doing is just messing with everything. And if we're ever unhappy with the changes JavaScript has made, all we got to do is refresh the page. Okay. HW Emil asked a really good question. How do you make elements persist through refreshing and navigating pages? You got to store the things that you want to persist somewhere. So you might have heard of cookies. There are other things like storage and local storage. Sometimes if you're talking about like web applications, they're storing stuff in a database to remember everything. Right now, don't worry about persistence because we're way off of that. But for now, just know the HTML and CSS are loaded, and then JavaScript can come along and mess with everything. Yeah, cookies, cache, MySQL and stuff. Exactly. Yep. Cool. Let's keep pushing, folks. Let's keep pushing. Let's go back to the code. So here is some JavaScript. And all this JavaScript, don't let it be overwhelming. All this JavaScript is doing is listening for a click and then doing something once it hears that click. It's listening for a click and then doing something once it hears that click. Okay? So let's take apart this first line. This first line has some keywords that we have to understand. Document. The document refers to what we have here in the browser. The document refers to what our HTML and CSS produced, right? The rendering that's in the browser. That's all the document is. So when we say the document, we're saying like, hey, go look at what HTML and CSS rendered, right? That's the document. Then what we're going to do is we're going to look through that document to find the button that we want to click. So we're going to say, hey, go through the document and then find the element that has the ID of purple. So like go through, find the element that has the ID of purple. Right? So if we look at our HTML and we look through our HTML, there is an LI that has the ID of purple. Cool. So all we said there was, all right, let's look in the document, like our HTML and CSS that was rendered, find something that has the ID of purple, and put a little guard on it. Like imagine like a little Smurf. There's like a Smurf sitting on top of that LI now, right? If we go back and we look, there's now a little blue person sitting on top of that LI that had the ID of purple, right? And what that little Smurf is doing, is listening and looking for me as I go to click. So as I go to click, this Smurf starts yelling, Leon, whoa, what are you doing? Oh crap, Leon clicked. Like he just starts yelling, Leon clicked, right? And what happens is that once I click, there's a set of instructions I want to run. Okay? So we looked in the document, like the HTML and CSS. We found the thing that had the ID of purple inside that HTML and CSS. We set up our Smurf that's listening for a click. All right, we set up our Smurf that's listening for a click. And when that Smurf hears a click, it tells Party Purple to run. All Party Purple is a set of instructions. All right? All Party Purple is a set of instructions. Here are those set of instructions. Okay? Here are those set of instructions. So let's look at the instructions. The instructions say, hey, Leon, go into that document thing again, like the rendering of the HTML and CSS. This time, find the thing that has the tag of body. Okay? Find the thing that has the tag of body. Once you've found it, change its style and specifically its background color to this value. Right? That's all it did. So when I clicked on the remote, that Smurf said, hey, Leon just clicked. Run Party Purple. Run Party Purple. Run Party Purple. All right? And so Party Purple runs. And what I do is I find the body and I change its color to the purple. And I find the body on the second line and I change the font color to white. Okay? So let's see that in action. I'm going to refresh just to make sure. And I'm going to click on purple. The Smurf is going to hear the click. The Smurf heard the click and said, hey, Party Purple. And then those two instructions ran. One, we turned the body purple and we changed the body font color to white. If we use our inspect tools, let's look in the inspector. If we use our inspector tools, I'm going to make this bigger so we can see. If we use our inspector tools, right click inspect. If we use our inspector tools, we can actually see that the body, look at the body, folks. The body now has that style, right? The body now has that style. And look where it is. It's in line. It's in line with the HTML. The body now has that style. Did it go? Did this go and change our HTML files? Did this go and change our CSS files? Or did this change the rendering of those files? This is really important. This is really important to understand. Did the JavaScript like go onto our computer, change our HTML, change our CSS? No. It changed the rendering only. And since it's just the rendering, if I refresh, what happens when I refresh? What's going to happen when I refresh? It's going to reset everything. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Like if I refresh, all those manipulations go away, right? All those manipulations go away. We go back to the original HTML and CSS that re-renders and all that goes away, right? So this is what JavaScript is doing, folks. JavaScript has the ability to mess with the render, right? Has the ability to mess with the render, but it does not have the ability to modify the actual base files. And this is a really important concept. And it's going to be really helpful because whenever we get in the thick of it, we can always just refresh our page and everything will go away. K-Doge said, Dana snapped. Yeah, that's what it's doing. As soon as you refresh, everything goes away. Cool. Let's take a look at it again. Let's look at this code again. There are some things that were here that are a little different, though. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a peek. Notice here I say get element by ID. That's literally looking for the ID that has purple. With the newer versions of JavaScript, though, we got query selector. Query selector is really cool because you can put whatever you want inside of it. Get element by ID, right? Get element by ID can only ever get an ID. Query selector, I can put in it anything just like I would put in my CSS, right? I can put in a tag like body. I can put in an ID like zebra. I could put in a class like Bob, right? I can put anything I want inside of query selector and it will work. It'll go grab the first one. It'll grab the first thing that has the ID zebra. It'll grab the first thing that has the class Bob. Vex, welcome. We're on class 8. If you're looking for some HTML and CSS, exclamation point YouTube, we go over it all. But feel free to hang around tonight. We're going to do some JavaScript. You only need to know a little bit of HTML and CSS to hang on. Cool. Cool. All right, so let's take a look at all of these. This line right here is called an event listener. Why do we think we call that line an event listener? Literally, why is it called an event listener? Yep, Tuna Alien, we're going to get to add event listener in the next example. I wanted to show some of the old ways, some of the new ways. That way when people are going through tutorials, they're not kind of like, what is this? Yeah. Dashlin is like, it listens, lol. Yeah, it listens. It's called an event listener because it's listening for an event. What's the event in this case? What's the event in this scenario? What's the event? In chat, please put what's the event. Boom. Click. The event is click. What are some other events that we could have, though? What are some other events that we could probably do? Anybody know what another event could be? Oh, Luck Monkey knows one. Yeah. We can have double click, mouse enter, mouse leave, keystroke. There are so many events. Like, think about how you interact with a website. You can click, you can double click, your mouse can enter, your mouse can leave, you can do a key press. There are all these different ways that we have a way of interacting with the site. All of those are events. And so tonight, I'm going to show you a universal event listener that can take any event. It's called add event listener. So the next example we do, we'll introduce that. I like to start here with this one, though, because it's very clear. It's very clear what this is supposed to be, right? It's very clear that this is supposed to be a click event. Cool. Ghost said, any more games for homework? He's like, this is getting a little intense. Flexbox Froggy, if you're interested, and then CSS Grid Garden and some really good ones. Kato, you had a question? Go ahead and ask the question. Flexbox Zombies, yeah, it's a cool one. I'll let folks ask questions, and then we're going to go through it line by line again. So when I say old, so there is a couple of things you have to understand about the history of JavaScript. So I'll go through that really quick. JavaScript started with one of the original browser manufacturers. They wanted something that could help add this layer of interaction. So they created JavaScript. Eventually, JavaScript was handed off, well, not handed off, but like given to a committee that helps approve the new specifications for JavaScript. Just like we have the W3C for HTML and CSS, we have the ECMAScript Council for JavaScript. And just like HTML is on its 5th version, ECMAScript keeps getting updated. So we had some really phenomenal changes in 2015, 2016. So you might hear somebody say ES6 plus JavaScript. What that means is all the changes from ECMAScript 2016 and going forward. And so when we say like newer, we're talking around like 2015, 2016, things changed in the JavaScript world. And that's when we have our newer syntax, and everything else previous was our older syntax. So that's what I mean by age there. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look. Redbird said, is there an advantage of using get element by ID instead of query selector? There are some folks that have been able to prove that it's faster. Like get element by ID can be somewhat faster than query selector, but it's kind of still like a debated thing. It's kind of it's another nerd fight. It's a nerd fight whether you stick with the old get element by ID or you can use the new query selector. I want you to be able to use both, and then you can do your research and form your own opinion. If I know I was going for uber speed, I'd probably use get element by ID. But when I'm just building apps on my own, I use query selector. It's just easier. Depends on what. Remember, it's tools on a tool belt. Depending on what tool I need, I'll use what I need to use. All right, so let's take a look at this again. We have 3 what? I have 3 what? What are 3 of these things circled here? 3 what? In Twitch chat for me, please. Boom. 3 event listeners. And then we have 3 sets of instructions. 1, 2, 3. You'll notice that these 3 things have a keyword called function, and that's what they are. Functions, for right now, just think of functions as the ability to do something. So these functions can just do stuff. It's a set of instructions that we are going to do. That's all we need to think about. We'll go deeper into like what functions are and stuff like that. But for now, just know that functions are sets of instructions that we can do. So what's happening here is that my event listeners, when they hear the click, they're telling these individual sets of instructions to run. Okay. If I clicked on green, then my green event listener would fire, and it would fire the party green function. And that party green function has 2 instructions that it's going to carry out. It's going to find the body in the DOM, like in the rendering in our browser, and it's going to change its background color to this green. And then the next instruction it's going to do is yet again, it's going to find the body a second time and change its color to white, the font color to white. So we're changing the background color and the font color whenever somebody clicks on party green. Kdoge, you don't need the parentheses to invoke at the end when you're doing an event listener. The event listener handles that for you. If you put the parentheses at the end, it would run as soon as the page load. So event listeners are like the only rare scenario where that happens. Don't worry about that, folks. We'll cover that in detail later. Hey, Chris, welcome. All right. So what I want you all to be able to do is I want you all to take 3 minutes, and what I want you to do is add another button. I want you to take 3 minutes and add another button. I should note that my CSS is hot garbage. I even labeled it as such. Hot garbage. Please do not mimic the CSS. I kind of ran out of time when I was putting together this lecture, so I just sped through the CSS. It's bad. Please do not comment. Please do not use anything in here as how you would really do CSS. I just ran out of time. So I've labeled it as hot garbage. So notice there'll be some weird things, but what I want you to do is go ahead and add a 4th button to the remote and get it to do something else. Blame the nuns. Hotgarbage.css, yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and put a timer on the clock. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. We're going to bring back the tunes. We'll do this, and then we'll take a break because it's been over an hour so far. All right, 3 minutes on the timer. Go ahead. If you finish, go ahead and put finished in the chat. Yes, you're going to need to create some HTML. You're probably going to have to fix some CSS, and you're going to have to write the JavaScript, and you only got 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Go, 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 go. Even if you don't finish, it's about attempting this, right? So go ahead, attempt it. We'll come back together at 3 minutes. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Let's bring in some tunage. If you're new and just following along, you can go ahead and do ! slides for the slides for today's lecture. And if you want the materials, like all the starter code that we're starting with, ! Discord in the Twitch chat. That'll take you to our Discord community. Agree to the rules, and once you agree to the rules, you'll be able to join our follow along materials channel and get all the starter code for today. So that's where everything is. If you're kind of catching us not on Twitch but on YouTube, if you just go to leonnoel.com/discord, it'll be the same link. Pro 89, box sizing is a hack that makes it so you don't have to worry about the border and padding when it comes to putting stuff next to other stuff. You don't have to do the math, basically. I think this might have been a little too not long enough. I think we might put another 2 minutes on this at the end. Yeah, we're gonna put another 2 minutes on this. So I'm just gonna change this to 3 minutes at 1. That way folks get a little bit more time. That went by really fast. Okay, never mind. All right, K-Cost, I see you. All right, Honduran Coder. All right, never mind. People are getting it done. Well done. I think we might put at least, we'll put 1 more minute on here. Let's do 2 minutes. Cool. Just made it turn red. Nice. Zenus Theory, got it. Well done. Dashlin, got it. Well done. K-Cost, I copied everything. Remember, when you're following along with a coding tutorial, typing it out is really important. Yeah, I know. I guess for this, like we're doing speed. Oh, I forgot to press start. Hold on. We'll change it to a minute. Remember, I guess we're going for speed here, but really helpful if you type things out. Yeah, the border, you're gonna have to change the height because it's really hacky CSS. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's just my hack together CSS. Sorry. See, you're going through the first run of this boot camp, so I ran out. My week was pretty busy at work, and so I ran out a little bit of time. At least I didn't use bang important though, right? Reptar, bro. Yo, is that it? You did it. Woo! Well done, Reptar, bro. That's awesome. That's really good to hear. Look at y'all writing JavaScript. Damn. Can't believe it. The click's not working. All right. Woo, success, well done. All right, let's try it together. Let's try doing it together. All right. So first, let me go ahead and add something in the HTML. So I'm just going to create an LI, and I'm going to give it the ID of red. Cool. I think somebody mentioned red in the chat. All right. So let's do that. And then let's go to the browser and see if there's an LI for us. Nope, not yet because we didn't write CSS. All right, so let's go ahead into our CSS. Let's do red. And we're not going to do it like a cool YouTuber red because I don't have the... Anybody have like a cool YouTuber red? Anybody have like a cool like YouTuber red that's not just like red? It's all right. I'll just do red for now. All right, thank you, Edurante. RGBA 207. I love chat. I just want to I just want chat with me whenever I'm coding at any point throughout the day. Because it just makes it hard to look up this stuff. This is amazing. And Alyssa said, change the height to 266. I trust you. All right, let's save it and let's see what we got. Boom, look at that nice YouTuber red there. All right, so now we have the align. We have the extra button on our remote. Okay, we have the extra button on our remote. So now let's write our JavaScript. If we want to click something, what do we need? If we're going to click something, what do we need? An event listener. Nice. So let's go ahead and create an event listener. Document.get element by ID, and we'll do red because that's the name of the ID. On click, putting our Smurf into action, and we'll call it party red. All right, let's come down here and write our function. Party red. All right. And then I want to test. I just want to make sure it's working first. Let's not even worry about writing code. Let's put a console log. Console.log. And I'm going to put works. Cool. What this will do is if this click event works, right? Like when I click on the element that has the ID red, if this works, we should see works in the console. And I'll show you what that means in a second. So let's go back. Let's right click, inspect, and I'm going to click over here to the console. So when I click red, I expect to see something right above my head. All right. So hopefully when I click this, it says works. Did I refresh? There we go. So the first time I clicked, nothing happened. I was clicking, nothing happened. And whenever that typically happens, it's probably because you forgot to refresh the page. So if everything looks good, it looks exactly like the other code we did, and it's not working, refresh the page. Cool. Let's go back. So now we know it works. Let's go ahead and put in our stuff to be changed. I'm going to target the document again. I'm going to use query selector this time. I'm going to select the body. And I'm going to change the background. I'm going to change the background color to be that cool YouTuber red. What was it? Sorry, I got to grab it from my style. Here we go. We're going to grab this cool YouTuber red. Yep. And then we're going to go back to our JavaScript. And we're going to plop it in here. And we're also going to change the font color to white. So let's go ahead and target the document again. Document.query selector. We're going to target the body again. And yeah, there are ways to speed this up. We're not really being the driest of all time, right? We're repeating some code here. So eventually we'll get to ways to make this more efficient. But for now, we're just making stuff work. We're having fun. All right, let's go ahead and make sure this all works. I'm going to close my console, give my page a refresh, and boom. Nice. Look at us go. Now any YouTuber can come and use this to imagine what their videos could look like if they had the fancy light. Well done, everybody. Well done, everyone. I like the green. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty fire. Mayan, get element by ID. Your by is lowercase. It should be a capital B. That's why you're getting the error. I'm gonna allow this. Why is FCK? It's like it's filtered. All right, I'm just trying to go back, make sure we're any questions here. I think general acceptance is camel case for JS. Yeah, it's a personal preference. I use camel case throughout my HTML, CSS, and JavaScript just so I'm consistent. That's like a personal choice and like a team choice, but I think camel case is pretty dominant. Ultra realistic. Nice. Camel case doesn't screw up JS. It just is just a way of oh yeah, well that yeah, it is case sensitive. You got to remember that. So if you're not using the correct casing, you're gonna wind up with things not working. Cool. Well done, everybody. Any questions about this code while we're here? Y'all did a good job. I think most people got it done. All right, we've been going for a minute 20. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. I'm going to put a 3-minute timer up here. I want you all to go ahead and grab some water, some hydrating, get some stretching in. 3 minutes. We'll leave the music going. And I'll see you back here in 3 minutes. We're going to keep pushing. We got some other really cool stuff we're going to build tonight. So go stretch, grab some water, and let's load in and build some other cool stuff. Sylphia, the colors that were in my CSS were so that these colors on the remote would show up. That's what I had them there for. If I didn't have the colors for the remote colors wouldn't have shown up. Okay, Doge, happy to have you. All right, everybody, grab some water, hydrate, stretch. If you have questions, go ahead and ask questions. I'll hang out and answer those questions while we're here. Pierre Carthy said, did you ever think it was weird that there was only one Smurfette and like 100 Smurfs? A little weird. Can we make it 5 so those who need to pray next time can? Yeah, absolutely. I think that's I think if there's a specific time that we need for that, we can do that too. But yeah, I'm happy to do a 5-minute break for the next one so that folks can do that if they need to. Alyssa said, Leon, I think I signed up for one of those individual time slots on Monday. I realized that's Memorial Day. Is that still fine? Yep, I'm down. So if you're still down, let's do it. I don't really take that many holidays off, honestly. What's Halloween like in Boston? You know what? I'm from Philly, and I'm from South Philly. And my street, we run Christmas lights across the whole block. And every winter, I used to help my grandfather help string the lights up. And so for Halloween, we turn the lights on. And so people come from all over Philly to like trick or treat on our block. So I grew up with like Halloween being like a big deal. In Boston, it's kind of, it's like a thing, but I guess I haven't lived in the areas where it was like a really big deal and I like would have lots of people coming. I went from it being like really important to me growing up to kind of like it's a thing, you know. Quick question regarding the CSS colors you use, RGBA, not normal type in colors, right? I have a preference for RGBA because I like the alpha channel that gives me that transparency. You can use color keywords if you want. The problem with color keywords is you can't get these cool YouTuber colors without knowing the values, either HSLA or RGBA or hexadecimal. Yeah, no, absolutely super. We'll definitely make sure. The next one we'll do 5 minutes for sure. I really appreciate you bringing that up. Are we going to do virtual Halloween? That'd be so cool. All right, welcome back, everyone. Come back. Glad you got your water. Glad you got a stretch in. Let's come back and keep pushing. Leon, I'm looking to buy a pocket reference books to learn while I'm at work and with family. Can you have a phone out? Because there are better apps if you get like solo learn and stuff like that. If you can do that. If you need a book that's a reference book, hit me up on Discord. I have a couple already in PDF form that I can send you, or I can tell you which ones I like. Cool. All right, folks, come on back. Let's get to it. Got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. Let's keep pushing. All right, I'm really happy that we were able to build a YouTuber's dream app for them to pick their background colors. Ghost, hit me up on Discord. I can send you the things I like. All right. Variables. What are variables? So now I want to introduce kind of like two of the big four tonight. We're going to see all the big four except for loops, but when I say the big four, I'm talking about variables, I'm talking about conditionals, I'm talking about loops, and I'm talking about functions. Tonight we're going to see variables, conditionals and functions, and on Tuesday we'll add loops into it. So these are kind of like, I like to call the big four. If you can have a good understanding of these big four, you're well on your way to being able to program kind of whatever you want with JavaScript. So we're going to keep pushing to make sure that we can get through them. All right, what are variables? Variables are simply a way for us to tell our program to use a value later on. Think of it as a bucket. We put something in the bucket, and we can use whatever we put in the bucket later on. Thank you. Gotta turn the music off. All right. We can, whatever we put in the bucket, we can use later on. Okay. And so we're going to use these variables a lot because there's a lot of times we need to store values. We need to be able to update those values and restore them. We need to be able to use values way further on in our program that we set up way earlier. And so we're going to see some of those variables in action. So if it's a kind of hard concept for you to wrap your mind around, don't worry. We're going to use them for real to build a very not so great calculator. All right. There are a couple keywords when it comes to variables. Omar, yeah, it's kind of like stored memory. It's a good way to think about it. The way you can think about variables is that there's really two steps. You declare the variable, which is like setting it up, and then you assign the variable that you set up a value. Okay? So if you're thinking about computers in terms of like them having memory, right? Let's say memory. All right. We would declare a variable called age. So now we have a bucket called age, right? So on this line, we created that space in memory called age. All right. On the next line, we said, hey, you know what? Put a value into that variable. Put a value into that bucket, and that value should be 25. All right. So those are two distinct steps. Creating that space in memory and then putting a value into that space in memory. You, however, can do both at the same time. So I've declared the variable age and I've assigned it the value of 25 at the same time. Okay. There is a convention that I like to use when it comes to JavaScript variables, but you can have your own preference. Your team might have their own preference. I like camel case. So whenever I'm declaring a variable, when I'm creating it, I like to start my words off with lowercase, and then every other word is capitalized. All right? Every other word is capitalized. Whiskey01. So is it in my ramp? That's actually a great question. Sort of. On Thursday, we're going to put that idea, sorry, on Tuesday, we're going to put that idea to the test. Come back Tuesday and we'll show you how this affects RAM. I have something really fun in store to show kind of how that works. All right. This is my convention for creating variables. It's called camel case. I implore you to use it. I implore you to use it across your HTML, your CSS, and your JavaScript. It just helps you stay consistent. If you were to work with another developer, you might say, hey, all my variables are camel case. They'll immediately know, oh, okay, I know how to declare every variable in your program now. All right. So now we understand that variables are like a container that can hold a value. What type of values can they hold? There are two really important values that they can hold, and these are called types. The first one is strings, right? So strings are like pieces of text. And remember we said last class that there's something interesting about how you create strings in JavaScript. You can have either double quotes on the outside or single quotes on the outside. Either are perfectly fine. However, whatever you use on the outside, you can't use on the inside, right? So here are good examples where I have single quotes on the outside and double in the middle. That's totally fine. And I have double on the out and a single in the middle. That's totally fine. If we wanted to have double quotes on the outside for the first one, we would have to escape. So if I made this double quotes, and this is double quotes, then I would have to escape those quotes. If I don't escape and I have the same quotes on the outside as I do on the inside, JavaScript's going to treat that as like two different strings with a variable in between. Let me actually show you that real quick. I know it's a little bit of a weird concept, but let's open up our inspector. Let me go ahead and do this. So I purchased it, right? So we can see that JavaScript doesn't know what to do here, right? JavaScript doesn't know what to do here. It's like, hey, Leon, I think you like ended your string here. Like I see a quote opens, I see a quote close. And then I think, Leon, I think you created a new string here, but I actually don't have like, whenever it's just a regular piece of like text that's not in a string, JavaScript's going to treat this as a variable. But I haven't declared a variable called purchase, so I'm probably going to get some errors, right? So you have to be careful with your strings. I can, however, escape this and it will work. So escaping just means putting this lovely like backslash in front of it. And now you can see that it's one full string. And when it computes, like when it gets evaluated, you can see that it's one string with double quotes on the outside and double quotes on the inside. Yeah, I bought the movie. This is live on Twitch, folks. Not trying to pull a 6ix9ine here. All right, let's keep pushing. There are ways. Oh, I just said shh. There are ways of introducing line breaks and tabs into our strings, right? But we don't use them. Why don't I use these special characters that introduce line breaks and tabbing to my strings? Someone call the Twitch police. Yeah, all right. Everybody still remembers. Yeah, it seems really close to like CSS. It seems really close to like style, right? I don't want to introduce style into my JavaScript. That can get a little weird, okay? So I try to stay away from these. That's a little too close to me. All right. The other type that we learned about last time and we're going to bring up again are numbers. So we have a variable. We can store in that variable numbers. And in fact, we're getting ready to do an example where we build a calculator. And so that calculator is going to need to be able to store numbers. We have two different kinds of numbers in JavaScript. We have ints, which are just like whole numbers. And we have floats, which are decimal places. So ints for whole numbers, floats for numbers with decimal places. That's all it is. Just a fancy word for decimal place. We can also have signed numbers in JavaScript, so numbers that have a positive or negative value. Totally works okay in JavaScript. We can even do arithmetic in JavaScript. If we want to do addition, it is the plus sign. If we want to do subtraction, it's the hyphen. If we want to do multiplication, it's the asterisk. If we want to do division, it's the /. And if we want to do this thing called modulus, we have it available to us. What modulus does is it gives you... What does modulus give you? What is let's chat. What does modulus give you? Do we remember? Ooh, yeah. Alyssa got it. Luck Monkey got it. Ghost got it. Bugaboo got it. Ebony got it. Kayla got it. K-Koffs got it. Omar, Cross. All right, folks. That's Avatar. Yeah, it gives you the remainder. So if I did 10 mod 6, what's the remainder? Boom. Ski got it quickly. 4. Yeah, it's 4. 6 goes into 10 once, and there's 4 left over. So 10 mod 6 would give you 4. Well done. Woo. All right. Let's go ahead and code a not so great calculator. So I have inside the starter code for today, it's called simple calculator. I'm going to go ahead and open that in Atom. You should go ahead and open that too. I'm going to close my other one. All right. Here's my not so great calculator. There are some not so great things about this calculator. We're going to try and make them better. All right. Let's go ahead and open it in the browser and see what it looks like. All right. Here's my not so great calculator. I can go ahead. Let me make it a little bit bigger. All right. So I can go ahead and start clicking on stuff. If I click on +3, my result goes up by 3. If I click +9, it goes up by 9. If I click -2, it subtracts 2. If I click 0, it goes back to 0. Before we look at the JavaScript, what's really happening here? What are some of the steps that are happening here? First, what can the user do? What can the user do with this app? Conduct shitty math. They can click. Yes. Oh, to an alien. I like the spacing. That was good. They can click, right? They can click on these 4 different, we'll call them liberally here, buttons, not in like term of HTML, but like they can click on these 4 different boxes, right? When they click on a box, what's happening? What's happening when they click on a box? What's happening when they click on a box? Arithmetic is happening, yeah. Yep. There we go. We got some good ones. So they're clicking on a box. We need something that can keep track of the math. Oh, Izzy got it right off the jump. Yeah. We have some variable that's happening behind the scenes that's like our total, right? It's like our current total. And what we're doing is we're either adding or subtracting from that total. And then once we're done adding or subtracting, we're placing that value back into the document. All right? So we have a click. That click does some math. And then we pick the result of that math that's probably stored in a variable, and we put it back into the browser. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look. All right. So I have 4 LIs. My LIs have really bad ID names. These ID names are not descriptive at all. They're not helpful at all. And we're going to see that when we get to our JavaScript. 0 has the ID of pumpkin. +3 has the ID of Domino's Pizza. +9 has the ID of zebra. And -2 has the idea of I can't think of anything because I literally could not think of anything else. So those were the IDs, right? Probably some better IDs here might be like 0, add 3, add 9, -2. Like those will probably be way better IDs, just so we have some idea of what they're doing. K-Call said, HTML police. Yes, this one over here. So let's take a look at our JavaScript. The very first thing I've done, oh, this is gonna be a good trick question. Well, I shouldn't have said a trick question. What's happening on this line right here? Go ahead and put it in Twitch chat. What's happening on that line right there? What is happening on that line? Oh, so close. Oh, K-Cost got it first, I think. We are declaring a variable called total, and we are assigning it the value of 0. So what we've done is we've created a space in memory called total. All right? There's a space in memory called total, and we put into it 0. All right? We put into it 0. All right. Next, what are all of these? These are all of our what? Yeah, there are event listeners, but they look different, right? Our previous event listener could only listen for what type of event? Our previous event listener could only listen for what type of event? Click, click, click. The previous event listener could only listen for clicks. This event listener, this add event listener, you can replace click with whatever you want. You can put in double click. You can put in mouse enter. You can put in mouse leave. You could put in a bunch of other things. So we call this a universal event listener. I can put whatever event I want in there. And here's my Smurf, right? My Smurf is getting created for the click. But when the Smurf hears the click, it runs this set of instructions. So here's the set of instructions that it runs, right? All right. So let's take a look at this. You'll also notice I got rid of document.getElementById. I'm just using query selector. The cool thing about the query selector is I can go ahead and use the octothorpe to select any ID. I could use the dot to select any class. I could remove the octothorpe and the dot and just select tags like normal. And then the cool thing is, and the really cool thing about query selector, whatever you would write in your CSS to target something, like all those nested selectors that we learned, those work inside your query selector. It's so cool. Like I'll show you. Like I can do this. I can do body space pumpkin. Give me something that has the idea of pumpkin that's inside of the body. So all the rules you learned from CSS, all the selectors you learn, work with the query selector. So that's how we can target specific elements, which is really neat. Remember, query selector always just grabs you the first match. So should we use this going forward? It's a personal decision. It's a nerd fight. I like to use query selector when I'm like prototyping and going fast. There might be some speed considerations to take into account. All right. So I have my 4 event listeners. And I have 4 functions that are doing stuff. Let's look at what these are doing. When I click on Domino's Pizza. So when I click on Domino's Pizza, what function or set of instructions, what function or set of instructions runs? When I click on the +3 or Domino's Pizza, what set of instructions is running? Jumanji. So now we got to find Jumanji. Here is Jumanji. So this is the set of instructions that's going to run Jumanji. So here what we are doing on this very first line, we are taking our variable total, right? Our variable total when we first start out is 0. So what we are saying is 0 plus 3 and total now equals 3. So all this line is doing is adding 3 to total, right? So I click the +3 section or the +3 li. The Smurf heard the click. It fired this set of instructions called Jumanji. And what this set of instructions did was add 3 to the total. So it's 0 plus 3. So total is now equal to 3. Yes, Luck Monkey, you can do plus equals. So now total is equal to 3. Anywhere I use total now, it's going to be 3. So on the next line, what I do is I go into the document and I find something that has the ID of place to put result. Okay, so let me go and look at my HTML. Ah, here we go. Here is a span that has the ID of place to put result. So what I'm doing is I am going to that span and I'm putting text inside of it that's equal to total. All right. I'm putting text inside of the place to put result span that's equal to total. So what am I right now going to put into that span? What am I going to put into that span? What's total right now and what's going to go into that span? Go ahead and put switch tab. Yeah, Orasi got it. Okayla got it. Ghost got it. Coordinate got it. Bugaboo, Izzy, Cake House, Ebony, everybody coming in with it. Yeah, 3. So all this happened very, very quickly, right? All happened very quickly. Let's walk through the code. Somebody clicks on +3, right? Somebody clicks on +3, and then this event listener hears the click, and it fires these set of instructions. What these set of instructions do is add 3 to total, which was 0. So now it went from 0 to 3. And then we plug 3 into our span. Cool. All right. Questions so far while we're here? Questions while we're here? Why do the event listeners keep listening for more clicks without you telling the code to loop back in the beginning? So the way this works is that it's just the Smurf. The Smurf is hearing the clicks, and it just keeps telling those instructions to run. So every time he hears a click, or she hears a click in the rare case, right? Every single time they hear a click, they say, do those sets of instructions. Doesn't matter how many times it happens. They're going to keep yelling out to do those instructions over and over and over again. JavaScript's funky, folks. There's a lot of weird stuff. What's the difference between inner text and inner HTML? Great question. Inner text only puts text in. Inner HTML, you can put anything in. You can put HTML elements in. You can put numbers in. You can put strings in. You can put anything you want in, including other HTML elements. I wanted to show you both. Inner text is just going to put text in, but inner HTML can put anything you want into that element. It's really cool. So, Orasi, this program is going to stop running as soon as the event is done. So the Smurf hears the click. It tells that set of instructions to run, and then it stops. That's it. Nothing else is going to happen until there's another click. Yeah. This program will sit doing nothing until it hears a click. Once it hears a click, it runs one of the sets of instructions, and then it stops. That's it. So how do you stop the listening? Most people don't. Most people won't ever remove the event listener, but there are ways to code the removal of the event listener. Like for our application, we don't ever want these buttons to stop hearing the clicks, right? We don't ever want this to not work. So we won't ever remove the event listeners. Bugaboo, yes, you can use double quotes or single quotes. That's a personal preference in JavaScript. All right. What I want y'all to do is I want you to add 2 more elements to this calculator. I want you to add a plus 15 and a minus 30. So plus 15 and minus 30. I'm going to go ahead and put, let's say, 4 minutes on the clock. Give me a plus 15 and a minus 30 with this code. Go ahead. I'll bring in some music. If you have questions, go ahead and ask questions while we work on it. We can do a simple calculator web app now. Yes, you can, K-Doge. Go ahead. Give me a plus 15 and a minus 30. Folks, if you are new, welcome. We're doing a free boot camp for those affected by the pandemic. We're learning all the basics of HTML, CSS, and right now, JavaScript. If you'd like to follow along, you can do ! slides in the chat, and that'll give you the slides for today to follow along. If you want the materials, you can do ! Discord. Join our Discord community, agree to the rules. You'll get access to all the channels. One of them is the follow along materials channel, and you'll be able to grab all the starter code that you'll see us using today. Three more minutes to get me a plus 15 and a minus 30 going. Excuse me. Next week, K-Doge, next week. To-do list is like the quintessential, do I know what I'm doing project. Have I covered execution context at all yet? Nope, not yet. That's too advanced. Right now, we're just trying to get a feel for the language. We're not really understanding what we're doing. We're just doing. Once we feel a little bit more comfortable with the syntax and where things are going, how we can read it, then we'll introduce all of the fancy words and terminology. Yeah. So don't worry. Come back next week. We'll be going deep into all that stuff. But for now, trying to get a feel for it. Make sure we don't run for the hills. 2 minutes, folks. 2 minutes. Skarar, thank you. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for following. Coming back to the start on one of the questions that left answerless, if you can, how do you select what to display in the media query? Hopefully you have a good designer and the designer tells you what they want to be shown at what display size. If you don't have a designer, one of the most common things is to start mobile first. What's the most important stuff for the user to see and interact with? And then you're kind of adding on layers to that afterwards. So one, hopefully you're working with a good designer. If not, think about your users. What's the most important thing for them to see on mobile? What are the most important things for them to see on tablet? What's the most important thing for them to see on desktop and laptop? Woo, Xena's Theory got it already. Wow. Squire, welcome. Well, see you when you come back. If you want to follow along with the other stuff, we have a bunch of HTML and CSS stuff on YouTube, !YouTube. Good luck. Is Saturday the last office hours? No, I think I'll do one more the following Saturday. Which coding is more difficult to learn or use, Java or JavaScript? I think they have their strengths and weaknesses in terms of learning. The thing about learning Java is that that's what's taught a lot at computer science, like in computer science degree programs. So I tell people to really not learn Java if you're self-taught, because you don't want to be competing against folks that have a CS degree. A lot of colleges really only have 1 or 2 classes that are web development. So it's a way to make yourself stand out, to have more practical skills if you can, by kind of avoiding it and sticking to something like JavaScript. All right, folks, let's take a look at this together. Well done for getting as far as you did. Wow, we had a lot of people that came in Dunzo. Yeah, my Dunzo list. You're all on my Dunzo list in a good way. Lightstrip got it done. Mayan got it done. Daxon got it done. Reptar Bro, well done. David got it. Nice. CivJR18, I'm not sure yet. Probably going to take like a week in between and then start the next one up. I really want to keep the momentum going with folks. So if folks are actually learning some JavaScript, I think we'll do a longer JavaScript course. I think that'd be fun. All right, let's take a look at this. Let's see if we can get the +15 -30 going. I'm gonna remove my text. All right, let's take a look at the HTML first. Let's go ahead and add 2 more buttons, should we? So let's do like this if this was legitimate. So let's do li, and let's go ahead and do the ID equals, and we're gonna add 15. So let's call it add 15, right? We're gonna like actually make the li what it should be doing, or what it will be doing, and then we'll do +15 in it. Cool. Just so that it's like clearer. It's like clearer what we're doing, because all the other ones, they just weren't clear. Like, what is pumpkin? Doesn't make sense. So I'm going to call this add 15. Oh, music. Thank you. And let's go ahead and do another li. And we'll give this one an ID equals, it was -30. So we'll do min, and then we'll say 30. Cool. And then we'll put a -30 in here. All right, so that's our extra LIs. Let's save that. Let's look at our style real quick. UL height to 300. Cool. Boom. I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and see it in the browser and see what we got. So we're just going to refresh. All right, so our two new LIs are there. They're the right height. Thank you for that, kickoffs. Looks good. Let's go ahead and set up our plus and minus. So we're gonna have to set up, if we have two new things to click, what two new do we need? We need two more what first? If there's two more things for us to click, we need two more what? In chat, please, we need two more what? Event listeners, boom. All right, let's go ahead and put in our event listeners. All right, go to our JavaScript, make a new event listener, document dot query selector, and we're going to put in the ID of what was our ID? It was add 15, right? Add 15, nice. And we're going to do add event listener, and we're going to make sure this is a click. And we're going to go ahead and when we click, let's call a function. Let's name our function appropriately as well and call it add 1 5. Now let's call it add 15. Now, so the important thing here to note is that this add 15 is the ID in my HTML. It has nothing to do with this name here. This is going to be the name of my function. Okay. All right. Cool. Let's do our next event listener as well, just while we're here. Document.query selector. And the other ID was, it was, what was it, minus or min? It was min 30. Cool, min 30. Add event listener. We're going to do click. And, whoop, sorry, my fingers are a little weird. Click. And then we're going to, can we call this like party rock? No, let's get it like something that actually makes sense. And let's call it min 30 as well. So once again, I just want to say that this right here, this min 30 has nothing to do with this min 30. This min 30 is the ID in our HTML. And this min 30 is just the name we're going to call our function or our set of instructions. Cool. All right, let's take a look. Let's scroll down. Let's create our two functions, our add 15 and our min 30 function. We're going to call it add 15. Cool. And inside of it, we're going to do total equals total. And we're going to say plus, and we're going to do 15. Cool. And then we're going to do our whole document dot query selector. And we're going to go ahead and target the place to put result. And we're going to do inner text because I think that's the closest to what we're trying to do. And we're going to say equal to total. Cool. So that's our add 15. That should work. Let's go ahead and save it up and make sure that it works. Let's refresh. Boom. Add 15's working. -2. Yeah. All right. We're going fine. Let's do our last one. And for this last one, I'm going to copy and paste just to save ourselves some time. I would never recommend that you copy and paste. We're just at 2 hours. I don't want to go too over tonight. So I'm going to call this min 30. Min 30. And we're going to subtract 30 each time. And then we'll use inner text as well just to keep it consistent. Cool. So now we added two new LIs that had an ID of add 15 and an ID of min 15. We added event listeners that were listening for those clicks. They called two new functions, add 15 and min 30. And this should all work. Let's go ahead and make sure. Let's refresh. Starting in the hole from -30. Let's add 15 to get our way out. All right. Looks like we're doing good, folks. Well done. Well done. Yeah, highly recommend not copying and pasting for all of this. And in fact, your homework tonight is to go back to all the code we did together and redo it by typing it all out. You really need to get the fingers going. You really need to start seeing those connections. And it's one thing just to read. It's another thing to do and practice it. So I really encourage you for any tutorial to always type along. I've been going through a lot of tutorials myself, and I always will pause, type everything out, and keep going. Does what cause any issues? Last I didn't see the question. Heck yeah. Cool. All right. Okay, Doge, you're going to try a calculator over the weekend? That's pretty cool. Yeah, you got the skills. Go ahead and do it. All right. Let's keep pushing. Let's go back to the slides. And let's keep making our way through. I'll give folks another break in a little while, just a few minutes. Typing certain keys is difficult on laptop. Should I buy one of those special keyboards? I'm a big fan of not spending money until you know this is something you're going to do long term. So if you know you're going to do this long term, yeah, go ahead. Keyboards have really radically changed my life. I use a Kinesis Advantage 2. I use an MX Ergo for my mouse. When I don't use these, I get really bad wrist pain. And I went to the doctors, and I actually have a bone growth. There's like a bump there from my hands flexing so much. So I definitely recommend taking care of yourself. But even if you don't have a good keyboard, just make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're doing hand stretches. Make sure you're giving yourself breaks. Like, all that is way more important even than getting a good keyboard. If you're doing good stretches, you're taking care of yourself, giving yourself breaks, you'll last a lot longer. Speaking of typing, how important is typing speed in programming? It's not important to program, but it's probably really important to be a good teammate. Imagine you're on a team and there's two people. One person that knows more but types 10 words a minute, and one person that knows less but types really fast. I'm probably going to go to the person that types really fast more often because they can help me with my problems quicker. So that's kind of the only detriment of typing speed. Like, it's how long does it take you to complete projects, and can you be an effective team member with a slow typing speed? I ask all my students to get up to at least 60 words per minute. So that's where I asked them to get to by the end of program. Yeah, you can't start your IDs with numbers, and probably doesn't help. Special characters probably falls into that rule as well. Yeah, it doesn't like IDs and even like variable names to start with numbers. Cool. Cooking dinner helps with the hand stretches. Yeah, doing anything that's not just typing for 12 hours a day can be really beneficial. It took me a while to learn that. Tuna alien at 70 words per minute. Dope. That's awesome. Cool. All right, let's keep pushing, folks. All right. We want to work up to being able to make decisions in our code. Like, something is true or false, and we do something in response to that. So to be able to learn how to make decisions, we got to learn that how JavaScript kind of figures out whether or not something is equal to something else. In JavaScript, we have 2 and 3 equal signs. When you're looking at 2 equal signs, you're making a comparison of value. When you're dealing with 3 equal signs, you're looking at a comparison of value and type. So here I'm saying, is number 9 equal to number 9 in both value and type? And the answer is yes, so that's true. Is number 7 equal to number 3 in both value and type? No, they're not equal in value. They're equal in type though. They're both numbers. So that becomes false. Then the last line says, is string hello equal to string hello on both value and type? Yes. They both equal hello, and they both have the type of string. So JavaScript's weird like that, or unique like that, in that we can do these types of comparisons. Not every language does that. All right. Here's the dreaded page from last class where I broke everyone's minds. I hope you were able to go through it and try it again. I'm going to give everybody until Tuesday to do this. And we'll come back to it on Tuesday, and we'll make it. I'll make it easier so it's easier to get through it. But I want you to try it on your own. Remember, I asked you to go through it with 3, go through it with 8, and go through it with one other number. We'll come back to it on Tuesday, and I'll make sure it makes sense to everyone. Okay. All right. Let's talk about conditionals. Conditionals are all about doing stuff if something is true. Okay. Miriam said 3 does not equal 8. Conditional is all about doing stuff if something is true. So here's a pretty simple conditional. We're starting off with if, that's our keyword, and then if whatever is in here was true, we'll do the stuff in the curly braces. You might have noticed that our functions had curly braces and our conditionals have curly braces. Where you're going to start to notice is that instructions or like do stuff is going to go in curly braces a lot of times. So when you start to notice these curly braces, your brain should start being like, all right, something might happen, right? Stuff is probably going to happen when I see these curly braces. All right. So here is the full conditional syntax. You're going to check to see if the if condition is true. If whatever is inside those parentheses is true, you're going to do the stuff inside those first curly braces and then stop. That's it. Stop. Okay. But if what was in here was false, then you're going to move to the else if. Okay. If what's inside of here is true, you're going to do the stuff inside those curly braces and then stop. You can have as many else ifs as you want. So you can check an if it's false, you can go to an else if. If the else if is false, you can go to another else if. If that else if is false, you can go to another else if, right? An else is a default condition. If you add an else at the end, and everything above it was false, the else will automatically run. You do not need to have an else. You could have ifs and else ifs that all evaluate to false, and then nothing happens in your program. But if you put an else, the else will automatically run if everything above it was false. All right. Starting to sweat a little bit. All right. So let's take a look at one or two of these. All right. So here is some syntax here. We have const pizza equals Domino's. Pizza here is a const, meaning that it's constant. It won't change because we only eat Domino's on this stream. So no need to have a variable like let that can be reassigned. Our pizza will always be Domino's. All right. So here is some conditional logic. Does pizza equal Papa John's? No, the pizza is not Papa John's. So now we're going to go to the else if. Is pizza equal to Domino's? Yes. So what we're going to see is that this line is going to be printed to the console. All aboard the train to Flavortown. Yugen, no. If you want to learn more about var and what happened to it, you can actually do ! var in chat, and you can read a whole article about it. But no, let can be reassigned. Mr. Fieri. I love Domino's. My husband hates it. You know what, Miss Turner? You're at the right stream then. Love it. Spouse fight. Hashtag spouse or Octothorpe spouse fight. Cool. Does this else ever run? Does this else run? Nope. Nope, doesn't run. Doesn't run, right? Because the else if was true, and since this was true, the default never even gets a chance to run. Never even gets a chance to run. All right. All right. Let's take a look. Something really important here. You got to be really careful with assignment versus comparison. A really common mistake that I see people make is they will use one equal sign here, right? They'll use one equal sign inside their conditions. What happens if you use one equal sign? What are you telling JavaScript to do? Yeah, coordinate. Yeah, you're telling it to reassign. You are literally trying to reassign pizza to Papa John's if you use one equal sign. Remember, in JavaScript, comparison is always 2 or 3 equal signs. If you use one, you are reassigning that variable. So you gotta be really careful. All my students make, I make this mistake sometimes. I'm looking at my code, I'm banging my head against the keyboard, and then I'm like, oh crap, I put 1 instead of 3. So I always try to default to 3. I think that's a best practice, but be careful. Be careful. Remember, 2 is comparing value. 3 is comparing value and type. So this is another kind of nerd fight, but I think the best practice is to default to 3. That way you know your value and types match. Cool. We can also have multiple conditions in our conditional logic. So if our name equals Bruce and our parents are dead and we just showed up at the police station, we can turn off the bat signal because Batman is here, right? So whenever you want to say and, like both conditions must be true, you use double ampersand. For this to run, for what is inside the curly braces to run, both this and this must be true. If only your name is Bruce, right, then this will not fire. This will not work. You need both of these conditions. When you have the and, both must be true for that code to run inside the curly braces. Okay. We have or. Or is a little bit different because only one needs to be true, right? Either day equals Saturday, or if day equals Sunday, we know it's the weekend. So it can be either or. Okay? Either or. Let's go ahead and write some code to figure out if we have class, if it's the weekend, or if it's just some boring day. So let's go ahead. There is starter code called class weekend boring day. Let's go ahead and open that in our text editor, please. Class boring. And then after this one, we'll take a break, and then we'll continue with the rest of the class. So we'll get through this, and then we'll take a break. All right. So if we open this in the browser, we got a lot of code already there for us. So here is, let me make it a little bit bigger. All right. So we got what is today. You can put in the day of the week, right? And then click check. What we want to have happen here is if they put in Tuesday or Thursday, we should get a console log that says we have class. If they put in a Saturday or Sunday, we want a console log that says it's the weekend. And if they put in any other day or any other misspelling or whatever, we want to say it's a boring day. Okay? So let's take a look at our code. Let me close this old one, sorry. Here we go. In my HTML, I have some cool stuff. I have an input. All right. I have a nice input. I have a button that I can click on. A button I can click on. And then a place to put the result. So you can either do a console log, or maybe you can put it here. Maybe let's put it in place to see. So we want to be able to grab what's inside this input and then check what it is. Let's take a look at our JavaScript I have here for you. So I already have an event listener for you. You can go ahead and click on that button, and it's going to run this function called check. The interesting thing here that we haven't seen before is that I can look at this input, because this is the input. If I look at my HTML, day, right, ID of day, that's the input, dot value. Dot value. What do we think this does? What does this line do? Document dot query selector day dot value. What do we think that does? Somebody take a guess. What is line 5 doing? And we did create a new variable. That's correct. Yeah, Ebony got it. It looks at the value in the input. So what it's going to do is whatever the user types into that input is now going to be stored in day. Let's see that. Let's see that. So let me go ahead and write that out. Let me do a console log. Console.log. And let's console log day. Let's console log day. And I'm going to open this in the browser. And let's just put in, let's keep everything lowercase to make our lives easier. Monday. And if we open up the inspector, if this all worked, there we go. We see Monday in the console. Let me refresh. Let me go and put something else in here. Let me put in Batman. And let me check. Boom. It's taking the value out of the input. It's taking the value out of the input, and it's helping us put it into the console. All right. Let's take a look at the code. We're taking the value. So we're saying, hey, go into the DOM, find the input, and grab whatever value's in there. What do you mean by version? Like what version of JavaScript this is? So this would be definitely ES6 plus stuff here. The reason why we know that it's ES6 plus is because we got const going, we got query selector. These are all things that would be in the newer versions of JavaScript. ES6 means ECMAScript 2016 or greater, meaning that when the new version of JavaScript came out in 2016, 2015, there were a lot of big differences. Hobson said, no, what version of Fortnite is this? That's hilarious. All right, Tuna Alien, have a great night. Remember, the rest will be up on YouTube. Cool. So we have the ability to pull the value out of the input. And right now we're console logging it. What I want you to try and do is I want you to write some conditional logic. So look at the slides. You can pull the live off if you need to go back, and I'll go back for you. I want you to build a conditional that takes that value and tells me whether or not I have class, it's the weekend, or if it's just a boring day. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to let's put 4 minutes on the clock. I want you to get as far as you can in those 4 minutes to build some conditional logic here that pulls the value that the user enters, tells me whether it's class, the weekend, or if it's a boring day. And then we'll go over it together. Go ahead and give it a good old college try, good old Scouts try. I know this is our first time seeing it, so it's a little bit difficult. Look at the example. Look at the slides. Go ahead. Boom, 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 boom. All right, put some music on. Go for it. I'm actually going to advance the slides back so you can look at it. There you go. If you need to look at the conditional logic. Remember, you can always pull the live off the link and you'll be able to control the slides at your own leisure. All right. Go ahead. Try and get some conditional logic going here. Even if you just get an if, that's a big win. Try and get some conditional logic here that says, all right, is it a day we have class? Remember, we have class on Tuesdays and Thursdays if you're just joining us. Is it the weekend, a Saturday or a Sunday? And is it a regular old day? Give it a good old try, Hobson. Can I put the slides up? Yeah, I guess so. You guys have the code. You all have the code, I meant to say. So there's the original. The if, else, if, else. If you're just joining us, you want to follow along, !slides will give you the slides. And if you want the, oh, did I not change to the new slides? RIP. Wow, has everybody just been like looking at the wrong slides? Let me change that real quick. Thank you for telling me. Boom. All right. Sorry about that, folks. Yeah. It's been the wrong ones. Here are the current slides. Sorry about that, folks. Let me bring the timer back up. Got about 1 minute and 30 seconds left. About 1 minute 30 left. Go ahead, minute 30, minute 30. It's all right, Izzy. Come back. We're going to go through all this again during office hours. You can join us for office hours. Come back. We'll go through this more. Tuesday will be all practice too, so we'll get it going. Hey, Bugaboo, that's great to hear. Sophia, yeah, it's good to just console log the, for now, it's okay. Oh, Miriam, you're confused in both value and type. That's great. About 30 seconds left, folks, and we'll go over it together. Alrighty. Alrighty. Let's take a look at this together. Hey, you can use the OR operator. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look. I know that I'm getting the value out of the input. So now I just want to build out some conditional logic. So there's my if. So what I'm going to check for, make this a bit bigger. What I'm going to check for is I'm going to say, hey, if day equals Tuesday, and how do I represent or? How do I represent or in JavaScript? What's the value for or? Yeah, double pipe character. So if day equals Tuesday or day equals Thursday, right? What do I want to do if day equals Tuesday or Thursday? What do I want to do? Yeah, console log class. Let's go and do that. Console.log you have class. Cool. And then if that's not true, let's check to see if it's the weekend. So remember, the way we can do the chain here is we'll do else if, and then we're going to check something in the else if. So we're going to say else if day equals Saturday or day equals Sunday. Cool. Day equals Sunday. And if a day equals Saturday or Sunday, we can say console.log, we can say, hey, it's the weekend. Dope. And then if it's not Tuesday or Thursday, and it's not Saturday or Sunday, we can just have an else. Just a backslash, Sophia. I'm just gonna do an else here. I'm just gonna console log. Boring. That's it. Cool. So what should happen is when I click the check button, it's going to grab the value out of the input, put that into the variable day. And then all I'm doing is checking to make sure that the day doesn't match some of our values here. If it does match Tuesday or Thursday, we have class. If we match Saturday or Sunday, it's the weekend. And if it's none of those, it's boring. Well, no, because Saturday and Sunday is the weekend. That doesn't count for boring. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let's go ahead and try it now. Let's go back to browser. I'm going to go ahead and refresh. Remember, we made all these changes. We have to refresh. So let's go ahead and put in Monday. And click check. Boring, because it's Monday. Let's go ahead and do Tuesday. You have class. Nice. And let's try a Sunday. Boom, it's the weekend. How about if we do monkey? Boring. Boring, right? So it's not the best checker in the world. We've only coded it so that it handles lowercase Tuesday, Thursday, lowercase Saturday, Sunday, and everything else is boring. So if you come on Saturday, we're going to spend a lot of time on this one. I know this one is hard, especially if this is the first time you've ever seen JavaScript. And remember, the goal today is you don't have to have all this locked down. It's kind of like you just got dropped off in Japan. You're kind of just trying to soak it all in. You're trying to talk to some folks. You're trying to engage, but you know you're not going to be fluent after one class. So if it's kind of overwhelming, that's okay. That's what office hours are for. Come to office hours. We're going to spend more time trying to really make some of these concepts stick in, and then we're going to have all day Tuesday and Thursday to kind of keep going deeper. You have double quotes in the conditionals. Yeah, you can use double quotes or single quotes in JavaScript. And the really weird thing is you can switch between them throughout the entire program too. Sophia, if you're trying to escape something, so if you have single quotes on the outside and you do it's on the inside, you just need this lovely little backslash like that. That's all you need. That right there. Boom. Yeah, if you're having some errors or you're getting some bugs, throw them on the Discord. Happy to look at the bugs on Discord after class. Cool. So where we're going in the inspector is if you let me do it from scratch here. If you right click inspect, there's a bunch of these different tabs. We're just going to the console tab here. This is where your console logs are going to show up. Cool. Yeah, you gotta be careful with the typos. They'll get you for sure. I can't tell you how many times I've banged my head against the keyboard for a very long time. It was just a small little one character where it shouldn't be. You're a developer now, Ebony. Is there a way not to enter the whole thing, like this value or that value? Well, it needs to know what value you're looking for. So if there's some other way you could represent Tuesday and Thursday, maybe like some normal, but it needs to know what you're looking for. Cool. All right, let's keep pushing, folks. We got a little bit of time. It's been 2.5 hours so far. I want to do one more thing, and then we're going to kind of wrap it up for tonight. So we won't take another break. I think we're just going to keep push through. That way we can get it done in under 3 hours. I don't want to go over. I know we went over last time. All right. And next time I'll definitely give 5 minutes for breaks for sure. All right, let's keep pushing. Remember, assignment versus comparison. All right. If you have 1 equal sign, that's assignment. 2 or 3 equal signs is what we use for comparison in JavaScript. So if we wanted to put the result in the H2 set place to C, could we replace the console log with, yeah, you could do document.querySelector place to C, .inner text, and then put the value in there, and that would work. Yep. Yeah, there are ways to do that last avatar. Come on Saturday and we'll do them. I don't want to get people confused, but if we come on Saturday, I'll definitely share one for office hours. All right. We already talked about multiple conditions. We coded the class weekend or boring day. I want to end with one more advanced example. And like I said, don't worry about it all making sense right now. Just soak it in. Let's absorb. Let's go a little bit deeper. Okay. I will share all the code afterwards on Discord, so we can go ahead and do that. Yeah, Han, we're gonna do a more advanced JavaScript course up next. Yeah. So let's go ahead and look at this angry parent simulator. I'm gonna go ahead and open up that code. Let's take a peek. So if you open up the folder Angry Parent Simulator, that's what we're going to be looking at. All right. So here is my Angry Parent Simulator. Let me go ahead and open it in the browser. Here's how I know I done messed up, and how my friends known they messed up when we were younger. Is that our parents would say our full name. So here we have three inputs here. So we can say first name, Bob. We had a baby. It's a boy. Okay. So I filled in Bob. We had a baby. It's a boy. Which is my favorite commercial of all time. And then I'm going to click yell. All right. So that was our parent yelling at us. So it took all the values that were in the inputs, concatenated them into one string, like made it one string, and then put that into the DOM. Okay. All right. There was a commercial for Geico, and the family had just had a baby, and it's a payphone. So they had to call their family on the payphones before cell phones. And they didn't want to pay the quarter to call everyone. So they called collect. And when you call collect, they ask you for your first and last name. So the guy said, our name is Bob. We had a baby. It's a boy. And so collect calls the family. And the guy hears it and he hangs up. And he turns to his partner and says, oh, it was Bob. He had a baby. It's a boy. And so they didn't have to pay for the collect call. I think that's my favorite commercial of all time. So this is pretty interesting. We're grabbing a value from each input. We're putting it into one string. And then we're putting that string into the DOM. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. We're not going to code along in this one. I just want you to see it. And then you'll dig into it on your own. All right. So here's the forms with all the inputs. Here's the button I'm clicking to yell. And here's where I'm placing the response. All right. So let's take a look. I have my event listener. My event listener hears the click. And then I fire a function called run, like my set of instructions called run. Because you should run, when you hear this, run. And what it's doing is it's going ahead and getting the value from each input. So it's grabbing the value from the first input, the second input, the third input, and the fourth input, right? and we're creating 4 new variables. Those 4 variables are going to hold the first name, the first middle name, the last middle name, and the last name. So now we have these 4 variables that are holding the names. And then what I do here is the old school way of placing all 4 of those into the DOM. You'll notice the old school way is I had to include empty spaces as quotes with no space with a space in them, right? So that was the old way. The old way is if you wanted to have a space, between words, you had to concatenate it, put it together. That's what concatenate means, with an empty space. So that's the old clunky way. The new hotness. Let's go ahead and comment this out. The new hotness is this right here. Ooh, look at that. These are called template strings. What a template string enables you to do is you start a string with these ticks. The ticks are typically on your tilde key. So you start with your open tick and your closing tick, and then you can place variables directly into the string with this special syntax. Bling curly braces, and then you plop your variable name into the curly braces. And then whatever white space you have as you're filling out the string, it shows up. So these are the template strings. They're the new hotness. It makes it really easy to plug in all your variables and not have to worry about it. And it still works. So if we save this, it's going to work exactly the same. I'm going to go back. I'm going to refresh. I'm just going to put some random stuff in here. And there we go. Now, there's one cool thing. I wanted to end with something really cool. You're going to come back and work through this code on your own. So don't worry if it doesn't make sense. I know this is kind of like, this is like the Hail Mary at the end. I'm going to comment all this out because I have another set that I thought was really neat. So here I'm going to uncomment this, and I'm going to show you what it does. It looks almost the same, but it has something cool. Let me go ahead and save real quick. I'm going to go back. I'm going to refresh. I'm going to go and put in the original one that we had. Bob. We had a baby. It's a boy. Cool. You ready for this one? Oh no, I have my headphones on. No! Hold on, I gotta unplug my headphones. I hope that doesn't do anything to the stream. Hold on 1 second, let's try again.
We had a baby, it's a boy. Bob, we had a baby, it's a boy. Bob, we had a baby, it's a boy.
Run! That's your parent yelling at you. Run! I heard that. I'm running. He ain't gonna find me. I'm in the basement somewhere. All right. So you can't have a parent yelling simulator if he doesn't actually yell at you. Let's take a look at this real quick. Built into modern browsers is something called the Speech Synthesis API. It's just a really fancy way of getting your computer to talk. Okay? So what I have done is I said, hey, Chrome, grab this speech synthesis thing. Just go grab it. It's part of your browser. Go get it for me. Then everything else is like normal, right? Like normal. But just at the end, I can use that speech synthesis thing and pass in the text that we got from the browser, from all the inputs. So you don't have to understand how any of this works. It's just something cool that's built into browsers now that I wanted to show you. But the idea is I'm passing that string, the Bob, we had a baby, it's a boy, into the speech synthesis thing that comes with the browser. And so this just goes to show you, like, once you learn the basics, you can start to build some really cool stuff. Like, think about what we were able to build tonight. We were able to build a YouTube background picker for up and coming YouTube stars, right? We were able to figure out what we're doing that day of the week. Were we going to class? Were we going for the weekend? All right. We were able to build a not so great calculator. All right. We were able to simulate getting yelled at by our parents. Right. And so my hope is that like tonight you learn some things, but you can kind of start to understand why JavaScript might be important. If you walk away tonight, you're like, Leon, I kind of get where JavaScript's going to come into play. We can like listen for events. We can put stuff into the DOM. We can change stuff based on user behavior. I get it. Like I can see what this is going to do. Don't get bogged down by the syntax or anything like that. You're on day 2 of trying to speak Japanese, right? It's not all going to make sense, but keep putting yourself into the mix. I want you to come back, and for homework, what I want you to do for homework is to please don't worry about this temperature converter. We'll handle that for another day. What I want you to do for homework is for all of the assignments that we've done, try and work through them on your own. Try deleting some parts and retyping it on your own. And once you feel comfortable, try commenting out or deleting all your JavaScript, right? And starting again. And it's a little bit of repetition, but a little bit of repetition early on when you're first learning a language is going to be really, really impactful. So try and try and try, repeat. I know you probably have a ton of questions. That's okay. Come to office hours. Saturday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. We're going to go back through all these examples. We'll spend time with the things that are probably tripping you up. If you have questions, you're working on stuff, you're getting stuck, you're starting to get syntax errors in your code, things aren't running, start sharing your code on Discord. That way we can help you look through it. Okay. Hope you all had some fun tonight. Hope you learned some things. I appreciate you giving me your hard work and late in the day. I would love to do a raid and close it with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and find somebody real quick for us to raid. And we're going to raid them. We're going to say, good vibes. We just built an angry parent AI simulator. We're just going to throw that in chat. Angry parent AI simulator. So let's find somebody good to send some love their way. Let me pull some folks up here. Loved having you all tonight. Thanks for spending the time hanging out. All right. I think we found someone. Let's do a raid.
Excuse me. Okay. Been practicing a lot. Okay. Don't bubble.
All right. Let me set the raid here. It was great having you all. Let me put it in. All right, we're starting now. Have a good night, everyone. Let's go send some good vibes. Let's tell them that we built an angry parent simulator. Have a good weekend. Hopefully see some of you during office hours and see you over at the raid.
Oh my God.